Well, hi everyone. I'm Andrea Palm Porter. I'm the Executive Director of Roaring Fork Leadership, and I'm really excited to have all of you joining us today to learn from Sheri Gaynor. She's a RFL alumni, graduated in 2010. She is a licensed clinical social worker and advanced epnoquist. Did I say that correctly? Eponaquest, not quite, instructor. I'll blame that on my Wisconsin, right? How I see the world, through the Wisconsin slang. She's an author of Creative Awakenings, Envisioning the Life of Your Dreams Through Art, and also founder of Creative Awakenings International. I've got the joy of sitting down with Sheri and getting to know her just through the RFL network, and really excited for her to present to us today. I know one of the thoughts was she could be on a ranch, but of course with weather, we're being agile and resilient even in how we're going to be able to present her teachings and her insights. So really looking forward to what you bring, and love that everybody is willing, most everybody here is showing our vulnerabilities, right? And at the end of the day, really learning some tricks about how to be more resilient. And I know that you'll be touching on that, Sheri. So really appreciate you being here to present for this RFL Resiliency experience.
Well, thank you for the beautiful introduction. And so yes, some of this was going to be done down at the ranch where I have my horse. I wish it was my ranch, but it's the Gianetti Springs Ranch. So grateful to be with them. So how it's going to flow through, just so you know, is I'm going to start with a video, and then I'm going to move to a PowerPoint, and then hopefully be able to get through the PowerPoint pretty quickly, and then be able to show you a final video that I feel really proud of, and really, really shows what horses have to teach us about resilience. It's actually a video of me and my rescue horse, who was an abused, shut down mare, actually doing what I call a liberty dance together. And that means that she has no lead rope, no halter. It means that she can be free to move about at any time. So with that, I'm going to start playing with some of these controls. Thank you for that, Andrea. And we'll start with this intro video. Welcome to Inner Lead. I wanted to offer you something just a little bit different in talking about resiliency and why horses. Why do we partner with horses? I thought it would be nice for us to start in the field with the horses and give you just a little bit of time with that. I'm going to have everybody start by taking a really nice, deep breath into the pit of your belly. And when we breathe, we want to make sure that the breath moves past our lungs and into the deepest part of our belly. And when we breathe and when we exhale, we want our exhale to be a slow count. And when you start to breathe this way, sometimes a count of 3 is all we can get, sometimes 4, and you can build yourself up to a slow exhale of 6. And what that does is it actually brings our parasympathetic nervous system back into regulation. If you feel ungrounded at any time, just gently tap your feet on the ground, wherever you are. You can do it just like this. And you feel the support and the foundation that is under your feet. And it's also a way that you can immediately ground yourself. I'm going to have Beth actually scan the horizon so that you can see the other horses. And as you see the horse there, they're just grazing. And that is a horse's natural state of being. And they really live in a place of congruence and emotional agility. And so unless something comes into a horse's field, unless something comes into a horse's field, that head down, relaxed grazing is their way of being. And what they have to teach us about resiliency is really kind of a part of that. But I want to talk to you quickly about the 4-point method, which is how teaching horses teach us resiliency is we learn to feel the feelings in the purest form, get the message behind the emotion. We do something different in response, and then we go back to grazing. And for so many of us right now, with COVID and all the things that are happening collectively in our world and in our culture, I think we are all feeling a really heightened state of anxiety. And for most of us, we have learned to suppress that so that we can function. And for most of us, we're having to continue to function with our kids being out of school, and now we have to figure out how to be with them. And so the way that the experiential work and nature works to bring us back to balance and back into our coherence is what I'm going to be talking to you about as we continue the next 40 minutes or so together. And the answer to why horses is they have so much to teach us about emotional agility. They have so much to teach us about how to bring ourselves into regulation. And more importantly, they can tell us about how to bring forward and strengthen our inner leader. So I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Thanks for watching this video. Okay, so that was what I was hoping to be able to do with you in the field this morning, but I'm really glad that on Friday I got this feeling like, I better make a video. And so we're going to leave some time at the end for some questions, but I just want to open up real quick. Does anybody have any thoughts, feelings that come forward, or do you want to save it to the end?
I would love to just kind of, as I'm an EQI, master practitioner, and I think Sheri, you know that. So it's so interesting, even in the, Brene Brown's Leading the Way, or her most recent book, or there's another one, 15 Conscious Leadership. I can't think of the full title, but they have chapters in there, right, on how we are suppressing emotion, and that we need more emotional language, words. Like, we're so limited, and even the words were like what we grew up learning to say what emotion is, So I think that even on the surface, to say that we are like emotionally suppressed as a human being race, I would agree with. I mean, we're just in some cases not as comfortable talking about our emotions or know how to deal with them. That helps us become effective in our lives.
Absolutely. And I love that you used the word effective, because I think in the idea of leadership, really, if we're not able to kind of be in touch with our own inner world or emotions or express them, and it's not something yes, kids now are learning this in school, but certainly my generation didn't. I think maybe we were lucky enough to get the little happy, sad face thing, but this, and I think some of you are aware that one of the other tools that I do is utilize creativity and art also as a language. And so here's just like teaching people how to use the process of visual journaling to express feelings and emotion that otherwise sometimes cannot be spoken. And for me, honestly, this was a way that I was someone who couldn't some of you may or may not know, I've been in recovery since 91, but I had no language to talk about my feelings and emotions. And so this became a way that I could speak, if you will, non-verbally about what I was feeling and come into contact with that. And then when I got involved with the horses, which I did as a kid, but certainly not in this way. I rode and showed. I was a barn rat. Go to your lesson, get on the horse, leave. But I never was able to have my own horse, and so I gave it up at like 14, and then through some amazing synchronicity, they started coming back in my life through my paintings when my mother was dying. And I didn't understand it then, but now I know that they came in to take me to the next level of understanding my own inner world, how, as my horse said, to mare up and become a leader in my own way, and to learn the language of the herd. And so with that, it's a really good time to go into the PowerPoint, and I hope this is working. I'm doing my best here, you guys. So hang with me for 1 second. Take a deep breath here. Oh wait, don't touch anything. Move that. All right, and slideshow play. All right, everybody see that? And you can hear me okay? All right, so I'm just going to do this fairly quickly. I do have my timer set because I do want to leave some time. So what we're going to talk about today is the power of sentient communication. And horses are sentient beings, and basically they are, as prey animals, have learned how to read their surroundings, and they, in that respect, become really great mentors for us to understand where we are not feeling our own strength. So they act as mirrors, because if we don't show up authentically for them, and if we're kind of like, oh yeah, I got this, you know, like I'm okay with horses, but really inside I'm not, they will let you know immediately that you're full of BS, so to speak, because they don't have the capacity to put on masks like humans do. And so this work, which comes from my mentor, Linda Kohanov, teaches us the ability to enhance our resilience skills, increase interpersonal mindfulness, and develop authentic leadership. Because if you can move a 1,200 to 2,500 pound horse around an arena, you can pretty much move and work with your colleagues as long as you are in the truth of your authenticity and not in your ego bravado. So Webster defines sentient as responsive to or conscious of sense of impressions, awareness, and finally sensitive in perception or feeling. Now, some of this may seem woo-woo to y'all, but it isn't. I mean, we're very connected to the Heart Math Institute, which we'll get to a little bit later in this presentation, but there are countless studies, including one that my own horse was in. Okay, this is not going now. Why? Okay, there we go. That measures human and horse responses. And we don't have a lot of time to go into that, but it's incredible. So sentient means to feel, basically. And unfortunately, what we have learned to do is actually operate from the neck up. Okay, so we have been acculturated to that this is the way we can actually understand the world. And we're going to get more to that. Why humans and horses? As I said in the video, as prey animals, the horses live in a common state of presence. And so scientific research continues to reveal critical information about their abilities of perception, cognition, memory, and emotions such as pain and fear. Horses remember people. They also remember their herd mates. They can be separated from a herd mate for 10 years, and as soon as that herd mate is returned, they do something that we call the language of the breath. They put their noses together and literally breathe and that stimulates, they also only work, their brains are split. So the breath actually stimulates all of their memories and perceptions. Horses live in that state of natural presence, as we said, and based on, and they respond to their stimuli because as prey animals, they have to respond to their to their environment. So how does this work? Well, a method for transforming our instinctual impulses, it combines us to have purposeful changes in our breathing and heart rate. It tunes us to a finely tuned state of awareness. We begin to use emotion as information. We notice subtle posture shifts. We increase our understanding of energetic awareness, and we develop intuitive insights. For example, Friday, kind of getting this intuitive hit that maybe I shouldn't risk sitting in a field for doing this presentation and making a phone call and saying, I need some help. I think I want to make a pre-video. Normally, I would never have heard that kind of thing. And even if I did, I would have just pushed it away and said, oh, everything will work out. Resilience is the capacity basically to have elasticity. That's how I think of it. Can we stretch? Can we flex? Or are we just so rigid that we're going to snap by like a rubber band? And right now for all of us, it is this ability to stretch and contract, stretch, contract. So it's about adaptation. For a lot of us, we're adapting right now. We're in constant motion. We're having to redraw plans. We're having to live in this place of uncertainty. And with that, we're expanding. As hard and difficult and challenging as this has been, we're actually expanding our capacity. Like, whoever thought that we would be able to, I've been doing presentations with people from all over the world. And that expansion is really important for all of us. And so sometimes out of crisis comes opportunity. What resilience isn't, it's not that we're not going to ever experience difficulty or distress. We are. People who have experienced major adversity or trauma, they have to learn often the capacity of how to stretch, because often they have been shut down into a freeze state or into a fight-flight state. So a lot of their healing work is around expanding this capacity for resilience, okay? Resilience involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that we can learn and develop. So how this works with the horses is the sentient communication builds the capacity for resilience and helps you learn to calm yourself and others, diffuse aggression, gain cooperation in an authentic leadership way, and motivate groups to take productive action. It teaches you how to consciously feel, think, make choices, act, respond, and relate to others, often without translating the cues and decision points into words. And that is, I mean, honestly, that is absolutely a truism. So one of the things we talk about is getting, and this is way too advanced to go into this in this presentation, but often we talk about going into a business meeting and maybe you've had a rough day, or you walk into the room and suddenly you've actually been fine, but you feel this, oh my gosh, like, what do I feel? Like suddenly I feel awful. What this actually you're doing is you're reading and picking up energy from other people. We talk about emotions are contagious. And so it's a way that you learn how to deal with the contagious emotions and bring yourself back to that neutral state of being, or back to grazing. And it's an incredible skill set. This comes, some of my work, you get what we call an emotional message chart, which you learn how to actually identify your emotions, get the feelings, the messages behind the emotions, do something different. And that keeps us away from the capacity to have these reactive, expansive breakdowns, breakthroughs, whatever you want to call them. So where do we begin? So very much like I was just saying, understanding the other 90% and using the art of emotional agility teach us how to then move through these difficult feelings and times. So the other 90% is just what I was saying, is in 1990, psychologists determined only about 10% of our communication is verbal. The other 90 is nonverbal. So basically what we are teaching is how now to actually move from just walking around the world like this, being cut off from our somatic and body wisdom, and actually integrate our whole body into our leadership, into our relationships, and learning to trust our body. Because if this is only, I mean, we say 97%, 3% of how we really are reading the world, imagine how much we're getting wrong.
Well, Sheri, and then add our biases and filters and like how we are perceiving things in that, even in that moment, like if anger is showing up, that can even alter, right, how you perceive or see what's in front of you.
Absolutely.
Not just those biases or frame of references that, you know, the rose-colored glasses, if you're an optimist or whatever. So, oh my God. Crazy.
And so, you know, they operate not from their brains, because their brains are only this big, but I'm not kidding, their hearts are this big. And when you sit on them, you're sitting directly over their heart, which is why most people who work with me who've had a bad experience from horses, it's because they've gone to like a string, you know, like a dude ranch or something like that. And they're terrified, but they're not able to say that they're terrified. And they put you on the horse's back without doing anything like this. And if a horse can feel a fly, imagine what they're feeling from a human who's terrified sitting on their back. To them, it's like having a mountain lion be on their back. So this actually increases your nonverbal communication, teaches you assertiveness, not as dominance and not as micromanaging, but as a tool to really step forward. It teaches you your timing. When is it appropriate for me to engage, not engage? Maybe I wait 24 hours before I hit the button on that email I just wrote. It teaches us how to modulate our energies, and we become leaders as generators and visionaries. And so we've all met those leaders who kind of come out and they're, you know, get it done, get it done, get it done, but they're not co-creating. They're not allowing for the ebbs and flows that sometimes are in a natural creative process. You absolutely learn to set and respect boundaries and understand that when I've crossed into somebody else's boundary, inadvertently even, their response is likely anger, because that is, when my boundaries are crossed, often I feel anger. Maybe you relate to that. Okay, co-creativity, consensual leadership, which means that maybe there is a hierarchy, but it's a more co-creative one that opens and is willing to invest in others' ideas, thoughts, and feelings. And then sentient communication, which again is really reading our field. So we teach with this, with the chart that we have, the emotions, the art of emotional agility, as I said in the video. It's a super simple process, which when I first learned it, I thought, oh my gosh, I need to get this tattooed on my forearms, because what it does, when we say that a horse feels the feelings in the purest form, and when I'm saying to you, feel the feeling in the purest form, imagine maybe even in the last 3 days, something that triggered you. just take a moment. Like maybe a coworker said something that set you off. Maybe your husband or partner or lover set you off. Maybe you had an initial reactive response, but you still weren't able to identify the feeling. So we give a list. There's a list that I can actually send a copy to Andrea, and she can send it out to everybody who showed up today. So we allow the feeling, knowing that it's not going to kill us, but that it's an important aspect to then moving through the feelings in a healthy and coherent way. Step 2 is we get the message behind the emotion. So for example, if we're using anger, so I'm feeling anger, the questions might be, has somebody crossed my boundaries? And it also may say, and what do I need to do in order to bring balance back to this relationship? And then the third is to do something different in response. And so horses, you'll see them, and all of us have seen this, grazing quietly in a field. And then suddenly one of the horses picks its head up, and then as if there's some sort of magical energy field, all the rest of the horses pick their head up and look at that horse. What they're doing in that moment is this. They're getting the message behind the emotion, and they're looking to the leader as to how to respond. So if there's a mountain lion coming through the field that hasn't eaten in a week, they're going to do this. And the leader's going to take them to a place of safety. When they get to that place of safety, they're going to do this. They're going to put their heads back and go to grazing. They don't ruminate for weeks about the mountain lion that walked through the pasture. We humans will replay the boundary cross or whatever it is over and over and over. And so they teach us that when we do this 4-part step, we can actually find our way back to a place of deep, quiet presence. So there's a very deep mindfulness practice that happens within this process once you learn how to do it. And it is so simple that it makes me excited for the world being able to transform if I could get everyone to do this. Because if we are working in organizations, it's like somehow, do you ever notice, oh my gosh, how did I end up in my family? How did I end up being in an organization that like mirrors my family? Well, often it's because there's some unresolved stuff and we're all playing those parts out. And so if there was a common language, which is part of what we teach, to resolve those conflicts, imagine what the world could be. Okay, so now, there we go. All right, so doing this will support you in achieving congruence, meaning what you portray on the outside matches what you're feeling on the inside. It will help you find a state of coherence, which is a psychological state conducive to optimal health and performance. And it will allow you to do coherence and action, which means like even just before I started this presentation, while Andrea was doing the intro, I was here doing my deep in, 6 out, in, 6 out, because I could feel my heart was just, okay, just keep switching. So we've talked a little bit about this, but really what we're learning to become is more horse-like. So we're responding, not reacting or suppressing. So I'm going to take you through a really quick body scan. That this is a simple tool that you can use anywhere you are. The beauty of this, you can be sitting in a meeting in your office and maybe you've been triggered by something that somebody said and no one will know you're doing this. And that's the gift. So you can literally in time just take this little trick and find your way back to regulation. So if you want, you can keep your eyes open, but this will be just 2 minutes. So you're going to take a really deep breath. I'm going to breathe with you. And you're just going to tune into your body. Notice any sensations that you might have without judging or trying to fix them. Just notice what's present. So for me, I was feeling a little tightness in my hips. And I'm noticing like a little tingling in my fingers and a little energy up in my head. And so I'm going to just do another scan, and I'm going to notice which one of those feelings is more prominent in this moment. And for me, it's really my hip area. And so now I'm going to take a really deep breath into my hips. So wherever you were feeling that emotion most prominent, take a deep breath into that space and expand the sensation. Give it oxygen and awareness. And see if it gives you a message. Could be a color, a word, a feeling. It could even be a poem or a song. I've had people have that. Allow the first thing to come. So for me, it was take a deep breath and let go. And now go back into your body and check and see if there's been a change in your sensation. And for me, I feel actually like a much more relaxed state of being and more presence. Did anybody else experience anything that they might want to share? Okay.
Scott, I see you're nodding. Do you care to share?
I was trying to find my unmute button. Sorry.
Awesome.
It's funny. I was literally writing a newspaper thing this morning on just the unbalance of the universe right now, and so my brain kept going there this morning, trying to listen to you, and then I just by getting present with you there, breathing, I had some tightness in my jaw. I was able to relax and really get back focused on what we were talking about here. So really grounded me and made me present, and I needed that. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, Scott, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that. It makes my heart so happy. Thanks. Yeah, so it's not woo-woo. It's science. And, you know, there's tons of studies that you could pull up. And what this is actually doing for all of us is regulating our parasympathetic nervous system, right? Our autonomic nervous system. And so the in-breaths activate the sympathetic, which is kind of our nervous fight flight, and the out-breaths actually enhance, the slow out-breaths enhance our parasympathetic nervous system, allowing kind of what you were saying, Scott, because you probably got a bit riled up writing the news article, right? You know, when we're reading all this stuff, it's so easy, we don't even realize we're getting riled up anymore, I don't think. And so it was so beautiful to hear that you could actually make that split and say, oh my gosh, I could actually see where I was and notice a difference. And that's really, you just supported your parasympathetic nervous system to meet you. And when it's out of balance, our state of coherence is non-existent. And so normally our heartbeat kind of goes like this. But when we learn this heart math breathing, which is incredibly transformative, it begins to do this and move in a beautiful state of regulation. And it's just easy. Like I said, you can be sitting in a meeting and do long, even breaths, and you can even start having gratitude thoughts. There's a study the Heart Math Institute has done on that. So the heart emits an electromagnetic field, which actually changes according to our motive. The heart is actually its own mini brain with 40 million neural cells of its own. And it sends more information to our brain than the brain sends to the heart. So this coherent rhythm helps our brain to creatively problem solve and access innovative solutions. And when we're out of balance, like we talked earlier, people can read that and you can read that. We just normally think it's us, like something's wrong with me, but it's actually not you. And positive feelings are contagious too. So I don't know if you've ever, I have a great story of walking into, actually I can tell you what happened yesterday. I was walking my dog on the bike path and I saw one of the baristas from my favorite coffee shop come out the back of the restaurant, and I heard this, and I saw her take a carton and throw it against the wall, and just like, and then she went back inside and shut the door, and I went home and I cut my zinnias and brought her a handful of zinnias and said, I saw you had a hard time this morning. I thought this might make your day. And her whole physiological response changed. And this just is sort of more of the same. But the really beautiful part about this, everyone, is that this really can impact your environment, whether that's your familial environment, your office environment, your organizational environment. When everybody kind of learns to do this, or even if you're the only one doing this, there's some incredible videos that show this work with horses, but I'm not going to show you that. But it does actually have an effect and impact on others. So the invitation is for your practice to start today. And just take this, you've got your 3-minute breath that we saw actually really work for Scott and actually really worked for me. And you're gonna just notice how this moves into your interpersonal mindfulness. How am I in relation to others? Use your breath as a language, use your body scan, and begin to try to identify your emotion. And if you're someone who struggles with that, just start pulling out collage papers for what you're feeling. I'm not kidding. Go through magazines and go, oh, I don't know why I'm attracted to that, but I'm going to pull that. And then go, oh, what do I feel when I look at that? Okay. And the quick coherence tool can be found at heartmath.org. And they have free videos that you can get. And they have this amazing little tool called an M-Wave, EM wave, that you can actually plug into your computer and learn how to regulate your breath. And this is Dreamweaver Sunday, my horse. And I want to thank you all for joining me. And if you need any more information, I know we've got it's about 36 minutes in. And so I'm gonna show the video, and then I'd like to, it's like 3 minutes, the video, ask for question. How did that feel, Andrea?
That's great. And I think there's probably some questions out there. I don't know if you want to take them now or show us the video. Maybe the video triggers some other things.
I think the video is going to trigger some other things.
Great.
Okay, thanks. All right, so let's see. So this video is going to show you the power of resilience. I made this video in 2015 for my dad's birthday, and it's 2 years after I rescued my horse, Dreamweaver Sunday. She was an abused and really shut down mare and was living on a property that was owned by a horse treater, which I didn't understand until I was too deep into it. She's my first horse. I have no idea of her history, but it was really evident that she didn't trust humans. And as trauma survivors often do, she kind of like retreated internally. working together to gain trust and communication from the ground without writing, offered us an opportunity to learn from one another and develop a language that helped her to heal, while at the same time helping me to heal. So what you'll see is called Liberty Work, and the horse is free from restraint and can leave the relationship at any time. So let me do this, and I think this is it. Fingers crossed. Let's see, hold on. Nope, here it is. All right.
Sheri, there's a delay. I'm not sure if anybody else is having a delay. Can you stop the video? Stop it.
Is it playing?
Well, I'm still seeing your PowerPoint trying to close.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Thank you. Let me just shut that down.
Is anybody else seeing anything different? Same thing?
Same thing. It's trying to shut down. Now Sheri's trying to, now she's closing it. There we go.
Oh, thanks, you guys.
Yep.
Okay, so I think I have to screen share again.
Make sure you pick the right
There we
one.
go. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Better.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. Oh, there's so much they hold. And just like them old stars, I see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How old is your soul? Well, I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. And when you're needing your space to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. See them, the stars, they burn. Some even fall to the earth. We got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up. I don't want to be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. Our differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got here. We got a lot at stake. And in the end, you're still my friend. At least we did intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world caving in. I had to learn what I got and what I'm not and who I am. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. Still looking up, still looking up, but I won't give up. God knows I'm tough. He knows we got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough, I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up.
Okay. I don't know why, but that still brings tears to my eyes. Can you guys hear me? Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta stop. Okay.
Horrible, Mary. And watching you watch it was adorable too.
I know. I still get tears every time I see that, because there were so many times where I thought, I am not the person who can help this horse, and that I was going to give up. Like, she needed somebody else who could help her. And to witness that still just brings tears up for me.
So, Sheri, a question. Lisa, did you have a question or just more of a comment?
No, it was just a comment of how nice it was to watch the video, and then also watch Sheri watch the video.
Yeah,
was an added. That's all.
Totally.
You know, like a YouTube reaction video.
Yeah. Thanks. One thing that when I was watching that, how long have you had that horse at that point, Sheri?
Only 2 years.
Okay. So I did a Way of the Horse program up at Storm King Ranch. A while ago. I went with my daughter Tessa. She was pretty, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years old. It was like 2 or 3 days, and when I think of resiliency, leadership, and like a lot of the work RFL does, trust. When I was watching that, it's like, but you're doing it on an emotional level. Like, I think of, like, in trainings I've done, I go into a group, I'm like, okay, who here automatically has trust for another person? Just like you just extend trust just when you meet them. Like, you don't go into story about them. You trust people, no matter what. And then there's another probably half of this group, approximately. My guess is you have to earn it with them. And it's interesting, right? You think of that horse that was shut down, who knows what happened to it. It's like you needed to earn trust with that horse, in order to connect or in order to be able to show emotion. So I think that's a big piece of this emotional resiliency, emotional regulation. It's like and of course I think of leadership, it all starts here, right? I can't rely on anybody else around me. So it's like trusting myself, being vulnerable, being transparent, knowing, giving myself the courage, right, to be able to share how I'm feeling in a given situation.
Right, the vulnerability that, I think we've all been conditioned that vulnerability is a terrible thing to show, and yet healthy vulnerability allows for actually authentic relationship. Yeah. And for me, that's why I say patients love leadership trust. And you're right, she had no reason to trust me or any other human being. And it took a while for her to do that. So yeah, thank you.
Like, to build that connection. It's like, okay, this, this horse or this person I'm sitting in this room with, I sense it, we don't have a high level of trust and I don't know why, right. But I'm just going to still show up, being as, let's say I want to be a trustworthy human being, a trustworthy leader. So regardless, I just have to show that. And it might take 2 years to get a coworker or a friend to finally share something or open up. But that's.
And I think what you said, Andrea, about I don't know why, and being willing and able to just listen to that. It's like, it doesn't matter why, but at least that information is inside of me, and I can sort of act accordingly in that way. Right. It doesn't mean I'm going to shut down or block this person. It's just a piece of information that has come intuitively to me that I'm just going to use within this relationship until I feel that shift.
Yeah. Yep. I know. Yeah. Christina, I don't know if you're willing to speak up, but she just went through the RFL Academy retreat a couple weekends ago. And I don't know, there was a big conversation around trust. I don't know if anything shows up for you, Christina, about in thinking of it through this kind of context of the horse and emotions, if you're there. She's on mute. I'm not sure. I just think an interesting perspective. Maybe what she could contribute. But anyone else? What showed up?
Questions? Oh, there's some things in the chat. Hang on one sec.
I don't have anything in the chat. I've been watching that.
Meeting my coaching facilities. Okay.
Michelle just turned on her video. Michelle, was there anything? You're on mute.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry. I just want to say what a phenomenal job. The work that you do and your presentation and your knowledge is fantastic. I love that. I'm looking for a way to volunteer to work with horses. And so I was just looking for a suggestion if that's possible. And then you referenced, Andrea, a program you did long ago as well. But if there's a way to learn from you guys as to where I can go volunteer, I would love that.
Absolutely. I'll put my email here in the chat. I don't know if you can see that, or you can get in touch with me through Andrea.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you very much.
Awesome job.
Yeah, there's a couple organizations out there, Sheri, maybe even you look for, like a hand. Michelle does a lot of leadership work like us. And RFL did some civic projects with Windwalkers and not Sacred Cycle, sorry. Smiling Goat Ranch is another one named Carbon Dow.
Yeah, Cheryl's wonderful. Windwalkers is wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And Sheri, there's more. I know there's a couple others out there. So you're probably a little more connected, Sheri, than I am.
Sheri, I sent you also a private chat that has my website in it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yay, connections.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, anybody else?
Doesn't look like it. Well, Sheri, a huge gratitude, sending you like pixie dust through the computer screen for bringing your insight to this concept. And I mean, I just sat back going, wow, like if I were like, just put yourself in the shoes of a horse for a moment, if you could even imagine that, right? Just to say, okay, if I were a horse right now, I'd be able to just graze, right? I would just be able to be present and not jump into that story, that ability humans have, or make, unnecessary connections or whatever, that I think we get thrown for a loop. And even sometimes our emotions that we think we know the word for might not even be it. Because again, that's that I don't think we are, I know I'm not, as good at understanding my emotions or being able to tie a word to it to create a context, being human and being linguistic, right? Having this ability.
Absolutely. And I will share that the EMC is kind of it's a long, the presentation's almost like 3 hours of how to utilize all of this together. Yeah. But I thought this would just dip everybody's toe in the water. And even if you only use that body scan, just even the way you shared it today, like, oh my gosh, I feel something here. What's the message?
Right.
It's a practice, just like meditation. And I loved Scott. I know he's gone, but that was just priceless for me. So thank you all so much for being here with me and spending this time together. And Andrea, thank you so much for the opportunity to present. I feel so deeply honored and grateful to RFL for giving me my start. I love that program. I send a lot of people your way.
Thank you. So yeah, we do these resiliency experience every Tuesday, noon to 1. Please join us. You can look on our website under events to see who's coming up next. And Sheri, if you want to send me that information, I can absolutely send it out to the people who attended today. I'll make sure you're copied on that. But thank you all for spending almost the last hour with us and taking some of this information just to be more agile and resilient in our everyday practices. So thank you for bringing some insights to us today, Sheri.
Yeah, and I'm loving all your comments. Thank you so much. Mwah. Be well and take care, and may the herd be with you. Thank you.
See you all later. Thank you.